Good morning, dear colleagues. We are starting our press briefing of the Speaker of the Ministry of Defense, Viktoria Kushnir. We'll try to get in contact by Skype with Leonid Matyuhin, the Speaker of ITO. And also, I would like to invite the head of the Department of Press and Information of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Valentin Buryachenko. Victoria, the floor is yours. Good morning, esteemed colleagues. I'm happy to see you here. The National Security and Defense Council made a decision on the cycle of partial mobilization in 2015. The objective is to replace the military who for some long time have been conducting their work in the zone of ATO. The first stage of partial mobilization will start on the 20th of January and will last for 90 days. The second and third stages will start in April and June next year and will last 60 days each. Also in 2015, we are planning to enroll 30,000 people for military service and attract 10,500 people for military service by contract. Today at 9 o'clock in the morning in the Central House of Officers of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the call center of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine started operating. Now all those who need some professional assistance can call this call center on the financial, personnel, psychological issues. They can call the hotline 454-4136. The call center of the Ministry of Defense works during the working days from 9 till 6 p.m. The state enterprises are exercising the instructions of the President of Ukraine as to strengthening the defense capacity of the army. During the 3 days after our previous briefing, the Armed Forces of Ukraine received more than 1,000 of new and modernized equipment and military equipment. Besides, last week, the repair brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and state companies repaired 30 units of missile artillery, ammunition, 43 units of armored ammunition, and 235 units of vehicles. The Armed Forces of Ukraine received also 9 the Igla systems, 10 Fagot systems, 917 units of small arms. Besides, the Armed Forces of Ukraine last week bought and gave to the servicemen 720 armored vests, 5,500 warm jackets, 9,500 warm trousers, 4,560 warm boots, and more than 7,340 tons of fuel materials, and also 6,223 identification badges. On Saturday, in the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, there was an exhibition of new and prospective models of ammunition equipment for the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Ukrainian businesses presented different types of tissue for the military uniforms, new armored vests and individual military kits and army food kits. By the end of the year, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine will prepare the propositions and will procure the best types for the best goods for the Ukrainian military. Last week, the Armed Forces of Ukraine received the winter uniform worth 300,000 pounds from Great Britain. Now another humanitarian convoy with the winter uniforms from the Republic of Poland is ready to enter Ukraine. The total in 2014, the country's partners gave to the armed forces of Ukraine the following humanitarian assistance: from the U.S., 300 dry food packages, winter trousers, winter jackets, the armored vests, and also Kevlar helmets. From French Republic, armored jackets. From Slovak Republic, electric generators, sleeping bags, and also medical medicine. From the Norway, 77,600 sets of dry food. From Great Britain, armored vests and Kevlar helmets. From Canada, from Republic of Poland, 169 tons of the bread, and also from Spain, armored vests and Kevlar helmets. From Lithuanian Republics, the sets of dry food, the boots, tactical glasses, material technical engineering and medical service devices. These were the short summary of the activity of the Ministry of Defense during the last day. Now I would like to give the floor to the Office of the Press Center of Anti-Terrorist Operation, Leonid Matyuhin, who will inform us about the events in ATO. Besides, I invite the Colonel Valentin Burychenko also to take the floor. Leonid? We have the guys in ATO have problems with the internet, so we'll now play the recording of his statement. Please start the video. Last day, the situation in ATO has not changed significantly. Starting from 6 p.m. yesterday until 6 a.m. Today, the terrorists 6 times started shelling at the positions of Ukrainian military. They were shelling from the small arms and mortar launchers. I would like to know that the Ukrainian military was shelled from the side of the monastery. Also, the shellings were near Granitne and Shasty. Also, I would like to mention that after 12 p.m., the fire till now hasn't been. There were no shellings. Twice, our military registered drones near Mariupol. Our military are not replying to the provocations of the terrorists because they observe this ceasefire, the silence regime, and also the information from the representative of the Ministry of Defense, Colonel Valentin Burychenko. The generalized information as to the events in the ATO zone, the situation is still difficult in the settlements which are close to the zone of ATO and which are under constant shelling of the militants. The social situation also is worsening, and that is because of the transit of a big number of the IDPs from the occupied territories. According to the advisor to ATO on renewing the infrastructure, Mr. Tadek, in Severodonetsk, in the nearest days, there will be the field office opened for the organization, which will be the single point of collecting information about the needs of Donetsk Oblast. This will allow us to correct the projects of international assistance in order to make the assistance targeted. The Russian side continues to use all the possible resources, including information resources, in order to form and support the anti-Ukrainian mood on the occupied territories of Donetsk and Lugansk regions. From the beginning of the announcing of the regime of ceasefire from 6 p.m. on the 5th of September, the militants of the illegal armed groups exercised 4,376 shellings of the positions of the armed forces of Ukraine from 10 o'clock on the 9th of December, from the moment of announcing silence regime, there were 133 shellings of the positions of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Any questions? No questions? Then see you tomorrow morning.